Hi everyone, this is Cinema Red Pill. I'm Sharon.
And I'm Timothy.
And we have a guest today.
Patience.
Yes, hi Patience.
Hi.
So Cinema Red Pill is a film podcast. We talk about cinema from Uganda, Africa, worldwide. And we're always lucky that we get to talk to Ugandan filmmakers. And today we have Patience Nitumwesiga, who is a fantastic filmmaker.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like for you to introduce yourself and tell us the work you've done, even one that's not involving film. And
It's so hard for me to talk about myself. I almost told you, don't ask me about that because I'm terrible at it. But I like to introduce myself as an African who comes from a place called Buweju. And it's interesting for me to say that I'm from Buweju because it's a place of rebel people who came from Southern Africa, and then they came and settled in a place that was called Mpororo. And then they were like, we don't like the leadership here, and they tried to change it and things didn't work, and then they left and settled in the mountains. So I like to call myself that because I feel like it informs who I am and the kind of stories that I tell. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. You have done films, you have also done theater. Is there any other art form you've dabbled in?
I have a podcast called Mbaganire.
Okay.
It's dedicated to African folktales, and the idea is to sort of reintroduce the idea of the fireplace tradition of oral storytelling. Also because my dad tells a lot of stories, so I always feel like when older people pass, because I don't have any living grandparent, and I feel like it's sad because I'm only 33 and I don't have a living grandparent. So if my kids are going to be 33 and they don't have grandparents, there's so many gaps between me and my parents, things they would never learn from me. So I feel like, it's a chance to tell some of our stories, tap into some older people's knowledge. So yeah. That's what Mbaganire is about.
I know, great plug, podcast to podcast. Yeah. Really great. I think I actually saw, I was in a place where I was trying to remember where I'd seen a folklore podcast, and I think it was yours because I have a friend who's doing a lot of artwork in folklore, so definitely listen to that. Listen to Mbaganire. I'll link it in the description so people can check it out. So films, I think start off by with the filmmaking journey, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think me and Patience, I first met her actually in a screenwriting lab.
Yes.
Yeah, we were trying to get projects off the ground, and I think getting into your films, you've done. I've watched 3 of your short films. First one being Communion, the other one being Jangu, and Heaven Sounds Boring. So yeah, just wanted to get into what was the process behind these movies. Maybe we could start with Communion, and you could maybe just give us a bit of a brief description of it, and yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what do I say about Communion. Yeah. It's so long ago. It feels like so long ago, though it's just 2018 when I did it. Yeah. But generally with all my stories, it's I have a weird connection with my stories. It's they haunt me until I'm done with them, and then once I'm done, it's I forget about them in a way, and I let them go. So Communion was it was short. It was a way of, when did we meet in Maisha?
2016.
Yeah, so I did that in 2018, and because I had worked on so many people's projects, and I was I'm not ready to tell my own stories. Until Communion, I was maybe I can actually do this. It was a way of proving to myself, okay, I can do this. But also it was a story that it was bigger in my head before, but I didn't have money. So I was how can I simplify this story that's been growing in my head for so long about this struggling person? It was about grief and mental health. And I had gone through 3 years of my dad being hospitalized with, and during that hospitalization, he got a mental breakdown. And it was so hard to watch because many people wanted to treat him oh, he doesn't have a brain right now. But I always felt like maybe he's there, like part of him is there and he's watching us and he's like, when I'm better, I'm going to be watching all of you said bad things. So I think it taught me a little bit of empathy for people who have mental health challenges. And my dad did recover, better than we expected. He made a full recovery. But as a person, I kept thinking like, as a person who struggles a lot, especially as an artist in Uganda, you go through a lot. You're trying to get on your feet and it doesn't work. So it was like that meeting point between a struggling artist and also watching a loved one almost go. And then like so many pressures that come, and then being a woman also, like being a woman that's told you have to look perfect. You cannot break down. You cannot let things, scatter. So it was very personal to me at that time. And sometimes people shock me by feeling those things when they watch the film, and sometimes people get other different things.
No, I like that short film very much, and I feel like the way you play, as you said again, it's about mental health. The way you play around with the characters' actual reality and their perceived reality, and the way you like drift in and out of it. I felt that was very powerful, especially for a short film, where we see a lot of short films just having plots where the character has to get from point A to point B, and this one you're kind of like delving into the psyche of a person who was dealing with this. So I felt in that way it was a very rich short film.
Thank you. But also in terms of reality, I feel like who determines what reality is real? Like we all live in like different realities, and even as a person, I feel like the reason I don't have many friends is because I live in my head a lot. And so my characters are like also reality. And so I was drawn to this character who lives in their head. And so much happens in there, that as normal people, we look at them and we're like, you're insane. But who says that? What if in that, it's a good reality for them to feel at peace? So,
I think I would like to really talk about a film that was by far my favorite at last year's Galabi, which was Heaven Sounds Boring. I love that film so much. Thank you. Beyond the story, which is heartbreaking and really great, the visuals, like what it looks like, it's really makes you remember how visual film can be, and the colors you chose to use purple and yellow so much, and the scenery when you change location to the water and the trees. That was so phenomenal. I want to know about the story inspiration, but can you start with the visual inspiration?
I think to date, I had the best team on Heaven Sounds Boring that I've worked with, and it was the time when I discovered people. When I did Communion, I was still like, I stole most of the people from Ascari from his film. I did. I stole his DP, Gabriel.
Oh my God!
I stole Josh, Alibet. I stole...
You've used him so much. I saw him in all your credits.
But, with Heaven Sounds Boring, I didn't have any money, first of all. And I just approached all these people that I had worked with. Some of them had just done a commercial project that really didn't mean anything, that I don't ever want to mention. When people mention it, I'm like, we did it for the money. And they had gotten paid well. So I told them, now I don't have money. But they were like, yeah, we'll do it. So I had so much creative energy in the space. Like, we had so many people that were coming together, and when I told them the vision, which is like my dream, my ideal, is when you tell people something, and that's what I love about film, the fact that it can grow from every person who participates. From the script, everybody starts breathing life into it. So I had so many people who were just coming in, and we had time because we didn't have money. We didn't want to make mistakes. So we're like, let's take time and do this right. So we started. I talked to them about what I had in mind. They presented their presentations for different departments. We talked about colors so much. Ali was so happy. Ali told me like, okay, so first of all, I went to Ali asking only for him to be a DP. And he was like, no, I can offer more. I can, we can do post-production for you. I was like, okay, that sounds cool. So it made me have more, because I was going to use my personal savings. So I was like, if Ali takes over post-production, I can do more with production. I was like, okay, let's get painters. And also because I was working with my house, so I was like, I got colleagues. I was like, we're working with these colors, so we're going to repaint everything. I got
your house still that color?
I left that house. It was a rented house. Oh my God. And now I've moved into, my own place, a smaller place. But, we left it in that same color. So I got people that I also stole from your set. Somebody called Alan Mwanja and Isma. So they came and repainted everything, the colors we wanted. I had one of my sisters had just left YMCA. She had done some art there, and I was like, "You wanted to prove yourself. This is your chance." And I think she was like so eager to prove herself. She actually really she outdid herself. She was like, "Okay, I have this idea, I have this," and we're like approving and. As opposed to like a lot of times here, you're always like, I don't have enough ideas.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yes, and here I was saying like, okay, no, this won't work. This will work. It was like really, really ideal. Yeah. And we had, people doing costumes. Everybody really, really did their best. I was so happy. I remember somebody came to the set to visit and they were like, so from 1 to 100, I was like, this is the only time I'm going to say 70% happy. Because I really felt like everybody had done their best. We talked about everything. We sat down with Ali shot by shot and talked. I think also because it was a short film, we could have that luxury of just going over the whole script and talking about everything, how it looks. It was so intentional. Yeah.
And then the outside set, was that also near your home?
Yeah, so we shot that at Zika Forest, which is near, towards
Kisubi.
Yes, it's in Kisubi. Yeah. So it's like near University of Kisubi. Okay. Yeah. So it was, I had I had many ideas about like some places, but Zika Forest, because it's near us and we had gone there and I had taken Nadia there and she liked it. So I wanted to shoot in places that she was familiar with. I didn't want to throw her off entirely. So I'd taken her there. She loved the place. So I wanted to shoot there where she should be like, oh, I know that. And then the only new thing would be the film.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Can I first, I want to speak on behalf of our third host, who is right behind the camera. And he had some really interesting questions for you in regards to Jangu, which is your third short film.
Come and ask
me. He wanted to know about how it was shifting from the tonally and in genre, because the first two films are really emotional and dramatic, and then Jangu is more of a thriller. So how was that, diving into that?
It's a long journey, but one, it's a risk I had to take. But two, it's the feature that I first wrote in 2016, which is like a long way in development, is a thriller. And how I came even about the actors for Jangu is I've always been looking for actors for that film, because it centers young people, a gang of 5 young people that are like committing revenge crimes, right? And I've looked around for people, like I'm always casting in my head. I see somebody, the only reason I watch like some of these shows on Showmax is to just see somebody that I like. I'm like, yes, I want that person, because I always go for the person that I want. And so the first person I saw was Tanya, and I was like, I want this girl for this film. I met her audition tape somewhere. I was like, Now, that was before Jangu came to be. So I had like these actors on my shelf, keeping them for a feature. And then this idea came, about, and I was like, okay, it was, like I told you, stories haunt me sometimes. And it's been haunting me for a while. I was like, okay, I need to tell this story, but not now. I'd been silencing it and saying like, and I had told myself, I don't want to do shorts anymore. I'm done, And then it came around and I was like, okay, what does it have? Let's just do it. And when we finally did, it was actually a very hard journey of like doing everything, but I was so glad that we did, because I learned so much. Like for the next films that I'm working on, there's a few lessons that I really needed to have learned through the making of Jangu. And also because my feature films that are coming, they're also different. Okay. And I feel like I don't want to tie myself into, one little box, which is like the points in communion, really like I want to be free to try different things. Of course, there's stories that I think I'm not like good at telling. I'm not really good at like nice feel good popcorn movies. Like I want my heart there. I want to leave my heart on the table with each film, so I can't run away from that.
Great. One more thing. He also wanted to ask about there's a scene in the film in Jangu when they're coming from the club and then they get a ride and the car is zooming on the road. It looks like animation. We wanted to know, like, what was that? How did you get that to happen?
So we got the guy who does the drone shots. Okay. We got the shot, but then it was too slow. And I told Ali, this is too slow. So what we did, we asked Josh if he could speed it up. So I think during the process of speeding it up, it ended up looking really, like really that.
Cool. I like the colors too, especially when they're meeting the witch doctor. That was really phenomenal. Yeah.
The witch, the person who plays the witch is also the person who does the set design. So he's called Guy, and I think he underperformed actually. He's usually very, very good, and we had bigger plans, but in the end we were like, okay, it's good it's not an overproduced film, so let's stay with that. But he's really good. Ideally we had wanted to use paint. We wanted to paint the rooms red. We wanted to paint them the other colors, the greens that we wanted, and then we didn't have enough time. So he suggested, why don't we use curtains? And we were like, okay. So we went to town, we bought red curtains, we bought red candles, and we tried to work with that.
Great.
Still on the short films. I feel we may have skirted over like a bit of like the plot details, because I feel
definitely.
Like a lot of
I was even noting it down that we'll have to describe what the plot is.
Yeah, but you're just now getting into, let's say, Heaven Sounds Boring, because again this is a story about a father who's trying to deal with like his daughter being sick and she's terminally ill. She's going to pass away. He knows it, but he's still trying to make the last few days of her life worth it. And I feel like again the way you work with actors, I feel is also very impressive, because the chemistry between the father, who was Daniel O'Mara, and the young girl, I think Nadia. I feel there was a lot of chemistry there, and it felt like a very real relationship. So how do you?
It was very real. We invested in that relationship so much. We spent all of Jan 2020 basically going to restaurants, buying ice cream, and making sure that O'Mara and Nadia are getting along. We, at first of all, she was struggling with speaking Lango, because she was at that age in school where they tell her, don't speak your mother tongue, blah, blah, blah. And she once asked me, like, why do you want me to speak my mother tongue, it's not your language. Why do you care about it? I was like, no, it doesn't matter what language it is. I want our languages to come through. You're not only one part. You are Lango, and it should come through. You should be proud of it. And then her mom is a very big fan of O'Mara. So I think that helped. I was like, okay, my mom likes this guy. Let me see what he's about. And they hung out for a bit, and I think she really, really liked him. And he made a huge effort to make sure that they get along. He would come over and he's like, if we don't rehearse, it's fine. Let's just like talk. So we'd go for pizza dates, we'd go for ice cream dates. And then they really, really started to get along. So when they started to get along and they were very close to each other, then we introduced the script. So then, we'd start talking about the script in English and then back to Lango. And then at some point I was like, now I understand the energy. So even if I don't understand the language, I would like all rehearsals now to continue in Leblango. So at a certain point, we stopped the English stuff and we did only... the language stuff. And then, when we were sure that she's comfortable, she's not struggling to remember lines, because we didn't want to be like prompting her on set, because that would like take her out of character. And I told them, first of all, like, for me, film is very different from theater. On stage, people are like, don't improvise if you're not supposed to improvise.
Yeah.
Don't do improv where it's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
For me, during film, if the energy is right, I don't care if you change the line, the way it's written, as long as the essence is the same. So I told them, like, if a word is too rigid and it's giving you trouble, change it. It's okay. I'm very happy with that. I will rewrite the script to suit you and how your energy. I am so turned off by, like, great lines that are done badly, where people are like, they want to say it the way it's written. But then it's so stiff. You can tell, like, especially because, like, and that's why I have a problem with English. English is our second language. So sometimes people, like, say it and like, no, that's not how you say it. But then if it doesn't come naturally to a person, that's how you say a sentence, then I don't want to correct them and say, this is how you say this. Like, it seems wrong. So I'd rather they just say it the way it feels right to them.
I really liked, especially the acting, because Nadia, as a child actor, I imagine it was a whole other proposition just to get her ready. But even for Daniel O'Mara, because we know him as a comedian, and we've seen him do a few things on TV, but, like, I think this is, like, the best I had seen him by far in a movie. So we
were so happy. Like, the day we shot the death scene, so first of all, Nadia was taking it so seriously and he was taking it seriously. So the first time when he cried just a little bit. And then when we uncovered her, she was like, I'm not going back. And we're just taking one wide shot. And we're like, why? She's like, I don't want to die. Oh my God. So we had to tell her, like, you're not dying. And she's like, no, but look at him. He's crying. Why is he crying if I'm not dying? So she took off, like, time with her dad to go and, like, calm down. So while she was off, her brother came in and was like, is Nadia tired? Can I take over now? He was always trying to like, get himself into the film. And then, O'Mara started laughing. But while he was laughing, we realized there were so many heavy emotions that were, like, in him. And he tried to laugh and tried to crack some jokes, and he failed. He cried. He cried for, like, an hour or two. And I was like, Ali, okay, let's just film it. And in the end, it was, like, a lot. We couldn't use a lot of it because Ali was like, you're going to kill people's emotions. No, you can't use all of this. He was, like, really, really crying. And we had to give them all a break for, like, 2-3 hours. We had only 2 days to shoot the film, and that was the first day. We were like, it's okay, guys, the actors need time out, we can't rush this. It was a delicate process, and we wanted to respect their process. And even after that, Mara was like, I need a month, I need to be away, what have you done with my emotions? And we tried to give them some alcohol and, like, barbecue, and it still didn't get all the emotions back to, and we're like, it's fine, it's part of that process. And I think for him it was a good thing to do as well, because he discovered, like, a lot of emotions that he could bring to the surface that he didn't know could come. So I was, like, very proud of him and very happy as a director. I was like, I know your emotions right now are in a bad place, but I'm happy as a director that you got there.
Because again, when I watched the film the first time at Ngalabi, I really saw it as very much Nadia's story, but then on rewatching it the second time, again, I really tapped into O'Mara's story because he's lost his mom, he's a single father, he doesn't have a wife in the picture, anything. Then he's lost his daughter. So basically, all the women in his life are basically not there. So it's very interesting that you also say he got very emotional in that sense. Because again, watching second time, I felt it was equally his story.
It is. I'm actually glad you say that, because for me, it's both their stories, and they have very different points of entry into it and how they look at it. Because for the girl, there are a few things that she doesn't understand, even though she's claiming, like, grandma visits me in my dreams. I'm going to be fine. We're going to be with you. This guy understands loss a little bit more because he's lost his mom. He knows he hasn't been able to see her, even though she visits the girl. But at the same time, the girl has some truths that he's unable to tap into as a diehard Christian. He cannot access that truth. And also, as an adult who's rigid and doesn't believe, he would probably say that's a ghost, blah blah blah, because of his upbringing. But as a young person, she's more receptive to the afterlife that's more cultural and more she's more likely to receive her grandma. So they're approaching this very differently, and I think they're both trying to make each other understand what's going on, but they're both, especially the adult person, like for Omara, it's the risk is too high for him because he's older, he understands things differently. So I wanted it to be clear that both of them, it's both their stories, and they experience this loss very differently.
Okay, that's enough for me at this one. Heaven sounds boring. So just a few things on Jangu, which honestly is my favorite.
Now you've changed your mind.
No. Like from the get-go, like when I watched all three, it was my favorite. It was you said Heaven Sounds Boring.
Heaven Sounds Boring is still my favorite.
Yeah, but Jangu, it surprised me because I'd seen Communion before. I'd seen Heaven Sounds Boring at Ngalavi. So Jangu is the one I actually watched in preparation for this episode, and like it really shocked me because again it says a lot of things about society and women not feeling safe in public spaces, but again it also creates this whole otherworldly experience, which is something I didn't expect. That again, the tone shift you mentioned, Joe, talking about, and them going to this place and meeting the witch, and the idea of like having that freedom, like creating just for 3 hours, they have this freedom to go out and I don't know what was that part of I don't know what were some of the inspirations, like just writing that story.
For me, it's I'm interested in like how both feminist and anti-feminist it is, because the idea of safety for women is like very important, but also the idea of like generalizing and pushing all men into one little box is also very possible sometimes, especially when you're feeling unsafe. It's easy to attack the whole gender until it hurts you personally, and for them it's it's their own dad and brother, and it's like they're putting them in this whole bracket of we don't want men, and it's easy to say that when you don't have a man that you care about. But if you have a man in your life that you care about, then you think twice before you mention things like, okay, all men, blah blah blah. So it came from that place of wanting people to understand what it's like for a woman to feel so unsafe that even to just walk at night is such a luxury. Like it's such a it's a privilege to walk at night and not feel safe. And some people would ask me, like, when we were still in the process of production, like, shouldn't they do more? Shouldn't they do more than just walk out at night? And I asked so many women, like, if you had the one chance to just walk out and there's no man that's going to attack you, and all of them, like most of them would just have, like, just the freedom of knowing I can walk at night. I used to love walking at night so much. I would go when there was still Cineplex at Garden City. Would go for those late movies with my girlfriends, and then would walk at like midnight when there's no cars, no people, and just walk home. Now, one day, actually from Askari, I don't know if you remember, I almost got killed when I was coming from shooting Askari. Yes. I did not hear about this. Your driver dropped me in somewhere in Machi, in Buziga or something. And then I realized it's the wrong gate. And I was like, I can't call them back. But I was so used to walking at night. It was like 3 a.m. And I was like, I can just walk back and retrace my steps and I'll find the right gate. And when I got to the main road, a guy just jumped out of the bushes and like torched me right in the face. And then he held my hand. And he was like, where are you coming from at this hour? And like a call just went through me. I was like, what the hell? What am I going to do now? I had to look for things to convince him that, I'm like waiting for someone. And he was like, no, I'm going to teach you a lesson today. He was so serious. And then I told him my brother was picking me up. And when I said that, there was a car that sort of came from like a distance. And I was like, I think that's my brother, so I have to go. So he let my hand go. And I knew that wasn't my brother in the car. So I ran. I've never run like that in my life. I ran so fast. And I was saved by this security guard. There was a supermarket nearby. It's on that Konge Road. So there was a supermarket that had an Askari outside. And he came out and he was armed. So he came out to the road and he was like, what's wrong? Is it dogs? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, there's a guy. And I turned back and he was running down the street. I remember after that day I was like, and after that, that's when the whole femicide thing got really serious. There were women dying and showing up in ditches. I was scared. So the idea came from that, but I didn't want it to be like a victimizing story. So I wanted it to be this story of women taking charge of their lives and being like, we're in charge of the night, because I'm so scared of nights, and I wanted a story that sort of redeems that and gives women some power, over the night. Except, of course, in this story, the witch tricks them and then, has more power than them. So it's a bit of like that story, but also without saying it's a one-sided story. Like, you can have safety without claiming the whole other gender needs to disappear.
And question I'd like to ask is about industry and financing. You've already mentioned a bit about it, but could you tell us about how, if you fund your films yourself, and if you make any money back, and if you have the potential to make any money back on the feature as well?
I didn't mind so much that I wasn't making money on the short films, because as I've mentioned to like different people, for me it was part of learning, and it was like a time that I took to learn like whatever I needed to learn for myself to gain whatever confidence I needed before my first feature. So even the films that received a little bit of funding, it was not enough. It just, we had to invest in a lot of our personal money with my co-producers, and it would be a shame if that happened with a feature because it takes so much time and so much energy. And it's still, funding is still a huge monster. I think that in this country it's so hard to slay. Not everybody's lucky like Joel to get like 10K to write.
Joel got 10K to write.
Yeah, so I think, it's just so exhausting also. Like, even when you need very little money to finish a film, it takes so much. And it's exciting when you get some funding, one of the films, that for me that has been selected for this development and production slate for Statement Films and Topic. I was telling a friend of mine how so relieving it is to just like receive money to create a deck and create pitch documents. You never do that. You go through all of development, like spending your money that you will never get back. So, and for like The Woman Who Poked the Leopard, we've basically gone through development and production without grants. Our first grant was DocuBox, which was like, oh my god, finally we have a grant. Like, we had a lot of people giving our film attention and stuff, but no one giving us actual money, and going to the field and just like hustling and using all your personal money, and your partner looking at you like, do you know we have a family to run? And yeah, so I really do hope that that part can improve. Yeah.
Okay. So The Woman Who Poked the Leopard is the title of the feature film?
Which one?
What's the feature film that's coming soon?
I have 4.
What?
Oh, okay.
4 feature films. 2 fiction films and 2 documentaries.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yes, but The Woman Who Poked the Leopard is one of them, yes.
Yeah.
That's a feature or?
It's a feature documentary. Yes.
Documentary,
yeah,
okay.
Film. Yeah.
Which one is coming out soonest?
Soonest. It might be that or The Stone That Was Moved, depending on how things move.
Is The Stone That Was Moved fiction?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you mind giving a bit of like teasers of the story?
I can't say much because I don't know. It's been executive produced by somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm not putting in any of my money, so I don't want to say the wrong thing. But the general thing that's I think already out there is that it's 100 years from now. It's about a girl who goes to space and comes back, sort of time travels into a century after, and finds Kampala very different. And so we explore a bit of that, of like everything that's lost, everything that's there, that's present, and what it means for her and her people in the future of her country.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, sounds very interesting. Yeah.
Okay, and how about the woman who popped the leopard? I like that.
That's the woman who popped the leopard, or that's the other one?
That's the other one, the stone that was moved. Yeah.
Okay.
So the woman who popped the leopard is about Stella Nyanzi, and her journey as a woman activist, but also as a mum who, you know, has very lovely teenage kids that she's trying to raise while trying to fight for her rights and the rights of very underprivileged groups in Kampala. Yeah.
That is great.
Can't wait to see both of those. I know the other ones also would
dog.
be.
I'm ready. Okay. So to finalize, we're going to ask you some rapid fire questions just to get a just to get a glimpse into what kind of films you like outside your own. Yes. So who's your favorite director?
I don't have one.
You don't?
I swear, but recently I just like love this guy Lemohang Masese from Lesotho.
Okay.
And his recent film, This Is Not a Barrier, It's a Resurrection.
I have seen that. I've
so
seen
beautiful.
images of that. It was at one of the festivals and did so well. I can't remember which.
Yeah, it's a great film. It's a wonderful film. It's you know, this old woman that's in a lead role, and she died soon after, you know, but it was like it was her last goodbye, and it was like a beautiful job that she did. But even like the visuals, like I think the DP did a great job, and the story, it's so, it reminds you of like the stories that were told from old. It's so it carries so much weight, and yet it's so visually compelling. So it's really cool. It's about these people that have been told they have to be moved. I mean, it's a story of every African, like there's a story like that in every African country. They have to be moved for a dam, and they have to move all their ancestors and like exhume them and stuff. It's just like, I'm not gonna move. My people are buried here, and so it's like this struggle between her and the community that wants to get some money and move, and you know, these developers that are coming in, and it's beautiful.
That sounds so amazing.
Yeah.
What's the last film you watched and enjoyed?
Queen and Slim. Yes, I actually hadn't watched it since it came out, so recently I was like, oh, it's on Netflix now, so I can watch it. And then I watched it and I was like, yeah, I understand why it created hype. I get it. Especially from like a debut, you know, feature from the director. So I think it was really cool. And I think you could tell that, because a film like that, like I think someone would try to make it like so entertaining and make it like very
Bonnie and Clyde, super.
Yeah, like super, you know, like but it's not too fast. You know, you feel like they give it the right pace. They make them people. They're not just like characters that are just like moving through music and stuff. It's
no, it's a great.
You have any rapid fire?
No, I think it was
okay, we shall go with those two.
Those two.
I think this is it.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Patience. This has been amazing.
Thank you guys for hosting me.
It's been a great discussion, especially the way you see your films. I find it very interesting. I think you're a very distinct filmmaker, your style, and again the themes you tackle in your films, I think are very different. So it's a great discussion, I'd say.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you too.
Listen to her podcast, guys. Wait up for her upcoming films, feature films. Can't wait for those.
The podcast is in Mbaganire.
Yes.
Mbaganire.
Yes. And attend festivals, and you'd be able to see her films, guys. These are the advantages of going
and they'll
to
also
film
be
festivals.
out. I mean, Ali is working on Awali TV. It's going to be a streaming platform, so all my other short films should be there.
Yes.
So
and
that's where people can find them now.
Yeah.
If people are watching this and want to find your films, they should go to
Awali, and then
TV.
Kiasi also
has Communion.
Yes. Then the other two is like, okay, let's get them onto Awali TV, and then we can get them onto Kiasi as well.
So are they currently on Awali?
Yes, but it's not yet launched.
It's not yet launched. Okay.
Yes.
Look out for Awali TV.
We'll definitely plug those links when they do come out.
Alright, sure. Yeah, but thank you so much. This is it. This is our episode with Patience. This is Cinema Red Pill. I'm Sharon.
I'm Timothy.
Patience.
And bye-bye. Joel is behind there. Okay.
People make films about themselves, what they want, what they love, what they fear most. Here we're nothing but props and their stories.